What is going on, everybody? Hope you are having a wonderful week so far. So, at this moment in time, I'm probably on a plane back to Detroit from Mexico. I've had an amazing time out there. But this week on the podcast, got the one and only Shelley Johannson. I've known Shelley for a few years now. She's a great techno producer, or whatever genre you want to put her under, but I would put her under as techno because she's fucking amazing. We had a great chat. She is has just released a new EP on her brand new record label called Turn Recordings. Go check it out. We speak about her launching the record label and why. That's why I kind of got her on, but it was a great catch up. I haven't spoke to her for a while, so it was amazing. So without further ado, Shelley Johannson. Shelley Johannson. You just like turned round when I was about to like say hi and just gave it the big one with the big Starbucks gulp. How's it going?
Yeah, it's going good. How are you?
I'm pretty good. How's sunny Canada right now?
It's nice. Yeah, it's starting to feel like summer here, which is good because it's always so freezing cold. So
where in Canada? I can never keep up with you where you're actually at in Canada. It's either Toronto or Calgary.
I keep up with myself. Like I don't even know where I am or who I am half the time. Right. Currently, I'm in Calgary, Alberta.
Ooh, I love Calgary.
Yeah. When was the last time you were here?
I used to date a girl there.
Wasn't me.
It wasn't you. When was the last time I was there? Was maybe like 4 years ago. I always forget because of COVID. We've like lost a year, so I'm like always like forget to say.
COVID lost a year.
Yeah, I think we should still be 2020. Just like go back in time.
But, so did you ever like go to Calgary Stampede then?
No, but I was there when it was on.
Yeah, and it's bonkers, right?
Yeah, and they like had like rodeos on when I was Garth Brooks was there when he was playing shows. Say that again.
I said that must have been a treat.
I didn't see him, sadly. He's not really my go-to, but they love him in there.
Oh, well, we'll make like our own new genre. It'll be like future country or something like that. And we'll have like our own stage here during Stampede.
So how does it work? Because you live like Toronto, Calgary, Vancouver. Like, tell me about your travels.
Well, I'm originally from Vancouver. So my siblings are out there and like a lot of my other family members. So I try to visit when I can. I really love like the mountains and the water. So going out there in the summers, like it's really nice. But I grew up in Calgary. And so I actually I stay here from time to time. Like I have like a studio and like a working space here. So yeah, so it allowed I have some gear here and like most of my pieces I can like carry with me as well. So yeah, I have like a space here where I do I will kind of book off like a whole month or 2 months and really just like sit down and like work on stuff. And then, but most of the time I'm based out of Toronto. It's just a lot easier to like fly out of there and there's so much more like happening. So it like depends. If there's not too much going on in Toronto, then I'll come and stay out here. There's like less distractions and where I live is just outside of the city area. Oh, nice. So it's kind of, it's great. It's sort of like a little retreat for me to like be here.
Yeah, I actually really like Calgary, and you're like really close to the mountains. You're only like 3 hours away from the mountains, right?
Yeah, not even. It's like maybe 2 hours or something like that. Really close to. Like, have you ever been to Banff?
Yeah, I've been to Grassy Lake. I went to Grassy Lakes, in the mountains as well, and I went.
Oh, wow, that's so nice.
Yeah, I went in the summer and it's just these like insane blue lakes and you're just like, how the fuck do they even like, what?
They're like this beautiful turquoise. You're like, wow, like these kind of places exist within Canada. It's actually amazing.
Yeah, it's beautiful. I really like Banff. I want to go skiing some point. Well, it won't be this year, but next year.
Yeah. Do you ski or do you like snowboard?
I've never snowboarded, but I can ski.
Okay. Yeah. Just get like a little backpack and put some lunch into it and go like down some bunny hills and go.
I've got this like really want to like go away and find like a log cabin in the mountains and just like go on this like romantic trip with, I don't know who that's going to be, but but like just go in the mountains and ski for like a week and like cook steak on the barbecue and ski in the day. Just like, that's what I want to do.
I'm sure they have stuff like that, like a shed, like a cabin shed that you can go to where there's no reception.
Yeah.
Like you don't bring any of your sort of electronic devices and just really like connect with nature, maybe get like mauled by a bear or something like that.
Yeah. I remember when I went walking in the mountains and my friend that I was with, her parents gave her like bear spray. And I was like, what the hell is bear spray? Because we don't have bears in the UK. And they were like, well, you get a lot of bears up there and you got to spray them with this. It's like pepper spray, isn't it? And I was like, whoa, this is scary. And then like I started listening more and more to like Joe Rogan and shit like that. And all he talks about is like bears killing things. And I was
really?
like, yeah.
That's pretty, you know what? I feel like the bears, they kind of, they back off. Like they don't come too close. But the other day I saw this video of somebody who was like saw a wild bear, okay, and tried to go up and take a picture, like a selfie with it. Like how far removed are you that you were like, oh, I'm gonna go up and take a picture with this wild animal, and then it starts chasing her, and it's like, what did you expect? What did you think was gonna happen? You really like myself growing up in the mountains, you have like a deep respect for the animals that are here because they're wild. Like,
super.
You know, like hopefully you don't have to use the bear spray, but it's better to have it and not need it than to need it and not have it.
Did you ever go hunting or anything as a kid?
No, I never went hunting, but like my grandparents, they were like a guide throughout BC
amazing.
and also Calgary. So I mean, there is a history of hunting within my family, but I mean, the background of that is like they use the whole bear and like it was more of like it was more of like a religious thing for them. You know, it wasn't just like for like a trophy or anything like that. So
I don't agree with trophy hunting, but I 100% agree with like keeping numbers down and actually using the meat. Like you can like elk and like the moose in Canada. The moose, I remember seeing a moose driving past and they were fucking massive. Like that could feed like a family for like a good year with the amount of meat on that thing.
Yeah, and that's what it's supposed to be. And like that was, you know, like well over 100 years ago, but they would share it with the indigenous people within the area, and they would also like ask for permission from it. So it was like different tactic of like hunting. But I mean, there's also in Ontario, I forget exactly like what part, it's like a couple hours outside of Toronto, there's actually a sanctuary where there's like different deer, different types of elk, and you can, and moose as well. And you can go in, it's like a drive through. You go in and like feed them carrots and stuff, but it's like a sanctuary for them. And it's crazy to like these elk, these huge animals, like these beasts will come and stick their head right into the window. And they're like, oh, like Lord, you treats for me. And I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah, they're ridiculous. I remember the moose like walked across the road and my friend was like, oh, that's a baby moose. I was like, how the fuck is that a baby moose? It was huge. But what was it like growing up in Vancouver? I love Vancouver.
Vancouver's a lot of fun. It's a lot more like laid back. People always ask me, they're like, what do you like better? Do you like Vancouver? Do you like Toronto? Like, what's your go-to? And I'm like, honestly, it's so difficult to compare because they have two such separate, like mentality wise, and like the pace of it is totally different. So I like being downtown. I like being in like busy places and sort of this like concrete jungle. But Vancouver, you know, there's something really deep about connecting like with being in the water and like going for hikes in the mountains. So like it's growing up out there was for sure like you have like a deep appreciation of like just nature in general, and people are a little bit more like lax and laid back. There's a little bit less happening there. So if you want something that's a bit more chill, I'd say Vancouver is like good
Yeah, I
place to
love
be.
Vancouver. It's always super chill. The food there's really good as well. There's a lot of like
Yeah,
Asian
yeah.
influence.
If you like seafood as well too, it's really really fresh.
Yeah, and the lake's amazing. Or it's not really. Is it a lake?
Ocean.
Ocean.
There's
It,
definitely some lakes though,
yeah.
like that are sprinkled throughout BC, and it's like that was one thing we would always do is we would go houseboating,
Okay.
and like we'd go to a lake, go houseboating, and like during the day just kind of like tan, like drink beer, and you just act like an idiot, and then you would come and dock on the shore, have like a fire, but then all of these other houseboats would like come and line up, and you would go house hopping, like
That's
each
amazing.
boat would have each boat would have like a different vibe and like different music to it, and you'd be like, oh, I'm bored of this place, like let's go over to the next one. You go to the next one, it'd be like something completely different. It's like so yeah, like BC definitely has like quite a few lakes like throughout it too, and
That's
there's some
cool.
parties on the water there as well.
Yeah, I played a couple of boat parties in Vancouver back in the day, like a few years ago. It's always hot as shit when I go there for some reason. It's never cold. I don't know why.
Yeah.
Just lucky.
It's kind of tropical there too, because they're the forestry. It's like it's quite dense. So it's like there's this bit of like humidity that kind of like sticks to your clothes.
How did you get into techno? Because like Vancouver's not really known for its like electronic music scene at all.
No. Yeah, I would say like Canada has like some spots that have had like some really great parties, but honestly the way I got into techno music is I actually have two older brothers, and they're quite a bit older than me, and they were like in the early like mid 90s, late 90s, early 2000s. They were both like very much at the forefront of like the trance and techno scene. And me being their little sister, I just wanted to do everything that they did. Yeah. I just always like looked up to them. One of my brothers is actually like a producer, and the other one is like a DJ. He actually is still a DJ, but like for like a local radio station and stuff. So I feel like I was like exposed to dance music from a very early age. Yeah. Because I was their little sister. I was always like tagging along and like trying to do everything that they were doing. And they like gave me a lot of music as well too. And they kind of like showed me some of the ropes. And honestly, it was one of my brothers that was like, you should become a DJ. He's like, you love this music. You have all of our music. And it was just like something so natural. So he was the one that kind of like planted the idea, and then from there just sort of grew. But yeah, they were very much into like dance music, particularly like trance, techno, and yeah, that's just where I kind of like that's where it started for me.
Did they teach you how to produce?
No, I'm like, so I wasn't really actually interested in production. Like when I first started DJing, I would DJ at clubs, and I was like, I wanted to bring something more for like my listeners. So I was like, I started doing like mashups and edits of certain songs that I like. So that's where my production kind of started. I was like, I wanted to like give something that was like different and that maybe no one has heard before. So I'm self-taught with like production.
Sick. Did you?
And my brothers, like one of my brothers is like a producer, but like for him, it was more of just like a hobby, and he, like he had his like his other life and like a job and stuff. And I think that's why he really pushed it onto me. He's like, you should make music, you should DJ, because he was almost living like vicariously through, like, do it, like you should. So yeah.
Did they ever come to shows?
I think there was a few times in Calgary where I had like a residency at a club, or like kind of a slew of clubs out here, and like they would come out to shows, because I used to go out with my brothers as well too, to like raves that that were out in like the sticks out here and stuff, and those were like some of my best memories, because I was just like so connected with the music, and I felt really safe going out with my older brothers. They'd always make sure that like that I was like taken care of, and that I got home safe and everything. So I just have such like good memories associated with it.
I love that. So was there little like free parties in the woods?
Yeah, like there'd be like some sort of setup at like a barn out here, and then you'd like walk in a full blown rave. There's like cows and chickens in the car. No. Like I shouldn't say that. Even though that does happen, but no, Calgary actually there used to be a club here called the Warehouse.
Okay.
And yeah, and there was a time in like the early 2000s where like huge DJs were coming through here on a regular basis. Like there was quite a few like nightclubs that had like some heavyweight names that were rotating through here regularly. So I think I was very lucky in the sense where I was living here during a time where I got to see like all of these shows and these like sort of intimate venues and stuff. But yeah, like the Warehouse was like a long running club here that was an after hours that was only Fridays and Saturday nights, opened at 2 a.m. Like it didn't like doors didn't even open until like all the other clubs were closed off. So there are like stick sort of parties which aren't happening now, and then back then there were definitely like club nights like Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, where everybody was out.
Because you had hi-fi there as well, didn't you? That's how I got introduced to Calgary originally. Was Hi-Fi Club, and that venue was like a kind of a hidden gem in Canada where you'd get booked to play in Calgary, and you'd be like, "Where the fuck is Calgary? Like, what is this place? Like, never heard of it." And then turn up to this club, and it's just a proper like rocking venue.
It's the one that has like the dance floor with like the squares that like light up and stuff for like
I can't remember.
I'm pretty sure that's it. I played there one New Year's and but yeah, you're right, it's sort of this like tucked away hidden gem sort of thing. And it like I feel like a lot of the clubs were like that in Calgary. Like they weren't like these really like they weren't advertised. They were just sort of like this little door that you would open, and when you'd walk inside, you're like, how does this exist here? Like where did it come from? But Hi-Fi was like that for sure.
Yeah, I loved Hi-Fi. They closed down during COVID, didn't it?
Yeah. Actually, I'm not sure if they did. Yeah, I could see that though.
Do you know the small town DJs?
Yeah. Oh
yeah. That's who owned it. They owned it.
Okay. Yeah, I remember when I was younger, like we'd get like their CDs, and it would say like small town DJs on it, and you'd always look forward to those crazy mixes and stuff. But definitely shout out to them. I hope everything's like going okay with them and stuff. But that's a name I haven't heard in a little while.
Yeah, they're the homies. They own a bunch of venues and restaurants in Calgary. They kill it. But yeah, I love them. Love them.
You have like a particular restaurant you like going to here?
I can't remember. I really can't remember. Yes. Yeah. No, I have to get this out because I remember there was a place.
Look, I've ever seen like you epiphanize.
It was
something.
So good, and where is it? They sold fried chicken, but it wasn't a fried chicken shop. Fried chicken Calgary. I'm googling this. Sorry.
There's a restaurant here. I shouldn't say a restaurant. It's like a fast food joint, and it's called Chicken on the Way, and it's been here since like the 70s or 60s, and it's on like a major highway, and outside they have this like ginormous chicken that's just like standing there all tall and proud, and you can't miss it.
No,
hilarious.
This was like a really like I've got to Google this. Best restaurants in Calgary. This was like it's a while ago though, so I don't know if it's still going to be there. But I will literally recognize it. And I remember going there and I was like, wow, this is unbelievable. Come on.
Is fried chicken like your favorite dish?
It's really not, but this was like really good fried chicken. You had they would give you like a whole fried chicken, like a whole chicken that was fried. Model Milk.
Oh my gosh, no, I've never.
You have to go there. It's really good.
I'm going right now. We're
yeah, Model Milk. I'm gonna send you the text now of the link.
Okay.
It's very, very good. And oh my God. Look, check this.
We have pizza. They have this like one pizza where just like cheese and honey on it, and it sounds like why would you put that combination of stuff together? But it's so good.
Where's that?
Like how it's called Una.
Una.
It's like a pizza place 17th Ave. I love how this whole like recording has just been like a big advertisement for like restaurants
For
in
Calgary.
Calgary.
Story of my life. I'm
Yeah.
I've just followed Model Milk on Instagram, and it is literally just at Model Milk. But I'm trying to find a picture of their fried chicken. But it was so long ago that they did it that it's probably not on there. But it's unbelievable place. You should definitely go there. Have you?
Okay.
Oh, it's so good. Have
Is that
you?
the fried chicken?
Yeah, that looks a bit shit, but they would give you like a whole bucket of like a whole fried chicken, and that's it. Yeah, this is it here. It's for anybody that's listening, go watch the YouTube because I'm showing you pictures. But obviously it looks a bit shit because the light. But let me forward it. I'll send this.
I had breakfast before I started talking to you because then I would have just been like.
I've only had like a bit of chocolate today. I'm proper hungry. I just slid that into your DMs.
Nice.
But yeah, have you spent much time in New York?
Yeah, a little bit.
Talking about honey on pizza, there's a restaurant called Paulie G's, which is a pizza place in Greenpoint in Brooklyn. And they do this thing called the Hellboy. And it's like, it's unbelievable. It's chili honey on like this unbelievable wood-fired pizza, and like if you're ever in town, you should check it out. It's great.
That sounds really good. I'll try anything once and twice if I like it.
What's the like the favorite food for you then?
Oh, it depends on what kind of Shelley you get for that day.
Okay, today.
I love sandwiches. I'm like a big fan of like sandwiches. I feel like it really. Oh, hi, Dirk. Family dog just walked in. He just wanted to come say hi. He's like, I heard you guys talking about food.
Food, yeah.
Oh, are you hungry? You had breakfast. He's looking at me like puppy dog eyes, like.
It's like feed me.
It really depends. Like I love sushi. I love ramen. I love sandwiches. I like a little bit of everything. Like I said, I'll try like anything. Really open to that. I think that's because of my mom. She like from like a really young age, she always like taught me to like, you know, like be interested in other cultures and like try different things and, you know, really like broaden your horizons of like things that you might like because you never know sort of thing. So yeah, definitely like.
Are your family from Canada?
Well, my dad was like born in Canada, but my mom's from the Philippines.
Oh, cool. Can you speak Filipino?
No, I can't.
Come on, Shelley.
I wish. I feel like when we moved away from Vancouver, I was still pretty young. My siblings can speak more Tagalog than I can, but like
what's it called?
For me, Tagalog.
Tagalog. Okay.
Yeah, you can call it Filipino though. That's fine. That's what everybody else.
Sorry, I'm like uncultured.
So there's so many different dialects too, because the Philippines is just made up of thousands of islands. Yeah. So the people, you know, in certain spots are a little bit more remote than others. So they develop like their own tongue, like their, you know, like their own accent as well too. So it just generally it's called Tagalog, but you're fine. Everybody calls it Filipino.
Does your mum still speak it?
Oh yeah. It's funny. Sometimes I'll hear her like when I'm visiting, she'll be on the phone because she's always talking to her friends. She'll be on the phone and Filipinos when they speak to each other, when they're having a conversation, it always kind of sounds like an argument because nobody ever just stops and listens to the other one. It's just more like whoever can talk the fastest and the loudest over top of the other person sort of wins the conversation. But no, like I really think that's something like you have to practice it or else you lose it. So like my siblings, because they were like around my cousins and aunts and uncles in Vancouver a bit more, they just had more opportunities to speak Tagalog.
Yeah.
But when I moved here, it's like it was just my mom that spoke it and I wasn't like with her all the time. So it's kind of something that you lose. But in the Philippines, they always interject like a little bit of English into the conversation.
Oh, okay.
Like it's not. Yeah, and everybody speaks English. Like you can't even open a business there unless you speak English.
Oh, really?
So when you go there, yeah, like every Filipino knows how to speak English. So
that's interesting.
Yeah.
Have you spent much time over there?
Yeah, quite a bit. It's been a few years since I've been back, but my mom actually has a mango farm out there and
No
like
way.
property. Yeah, so it's like she tries to go out at least every like 2 years or so, because she has to go back to check on her property, and we still have family there.
Yeah.
So she's like my personal tour guide when I go. I have to go with her because she knows all the local spots and stuff. But
I'd love to go.
Yeah, it's like from Canada. It's like a 2-day trip. Like
Really?
it's quite a trek to get out there. Yeah, so when you go, you stay for like at least a month.
Yeah.
And then by the end of it, you're like fully submerged into the culture, and you pick up on Tagalog a little bit better.
Do you understand the language though?
Yeah, like it's much easier for me to understand it than to speak it properly.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I definitely wish that my mother for sure like enforced that on me. But yeah, I can get by. Most people can get by.
I was talking to one of my friends last night, and she has a kid, and she's German. And I was like, are you speaking to her in German? She was like, nah, I've kind of got lazy. I was like, you have to speak to them in German. Like, come on. Like, it's the one thing I wish I did when I was younger, was learn another language, because it's so key in life. Can you speak another language?
No, I actually have this, like, have you heard of Duolingo?
Yeah.
Like app? Yeah. So I have it, and I try to like practice German with it.
Okay.
And yeah, and it's a good app. I really like using it, but it's I think it kind of like it's healthy, you know, like to exercise your brain in that way.
Yeah.
And I've always liked the language. So and they didn't have Tagalog on Duolingo, so I would have tried, but they didn't have it. So
you should just tell your mum to be like, Mum, only talk to me in Tagalog, and that's it. And
no, then she wouldn't talk to me at all. No.
So why German? Are you planning on moving to Berlin?
Well, that was one thing, was like before like the whole pandemic happened, I was actually planning on staying in Berlin for like the full summer. And I felt like every time I went out there, I just kind of like fell in love with it, like more and more. So I was like, oh, I'm going to spend like a whole summer there. And it was planned out. So not this summer, but hopefully next summer I'll be able to spend the summer there.
How does it work with visas and stuff for you being Canadian? How long can you stay out there without having to get a visa?
I don't know, actually, but I know I can stay for like up to 3 months.
Okay, yeah.
It's usually just within the States. Like if you're doing like a gig down there, then you have to like do visa kind of stuff, and you can only stay for like a certain amount of time. But with like countries like Canada, going over to like certain European countries and stuff, they're usually like really good.
It's weird. Do you have to get like an O1 visa to do shows in America?
You know, you can like for Canadians, there's like, it's something called, it's like P1 or P2 visa. And it's basically just a permit saying that like you're a musician or a performing artist, and you're going there, and it's just really like for the duration of your trip there. So you have to apply for it, whatnot. And I wouldn't recommend leaving it to like too last minute, because you know some artists definitely do that, but because they like charge you like a fee for it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just like a temporary visa to go there and play.
Okay. I thought it would be like, considering you're not the same country at all. You're very different, but you're on each other's doorstep. So you would have thought it would be a little easier to just like rock up.
To be honest, like I wouldn't like directly quote me on it, but like with the P2 visa, I'm not sure if that's applicable for like all other countries. I think it might be like a Canadian American border kind of thing.
Because for me, going over there, I have to get an O1 visa, which is like it's a process.
Your residency is over in Europe, right?
Yeah, I'm English, so I have to have like a O1 visa for America, which is like, it's a process, and you get 3 years each time. And then you have to renew it, and it's pretty expensive. It's worth it, of course, but it's pretty expensive.
Yeah. You just announced like you going on tour, right?
Yeah.
I saw a little clip of that on your Instagram.
Yeah, it's fucking wild going on tour.
Yeah.
So
how do you feel about that?
I have mixed emotions. I'm like really, really happy that we can tour, or I can tour again, and I'm lucky enough that I can tour and kind of get booked. And I guess with having America being how America is, like they're just kind of opening up, and it's going to be amazing to just be able to play to people. But obviously, like I've been back home in the UK for the last 18 months. No, less than that. 16 months.
Have you been really productive during that time?
The first year I was like super productive. No, maybe the first like 9-10 months I was really productive, and then to be fair,
you're like in one spot, right?
Yeah.
It's like you're not sort of trying to fit like studio time in between like the traveling, going back and forth.
Yeah, it's been great. But I think this year, like most of this year, I've been super busy. Like my every day is like slam doing shit. But I think like on the production side of things, I've just like chilled out a little bit, and I have like all my music releases ready for like up until May next year.
Oh, wow.
So it's like, you know, when you kind of got so much time ahead of you, it's kind of hard to try and think like, what am I going to be releasing this time next year? It's kind of a bit weird. So I took
dance music too.
Sorry?
Especially with like dance music too. It's like you can, on like a dime, you can kind of turn like on what kind of sound you want to put out, or like what you're feeling that month, or like what kind of mood you're in for what you want to release and stuff. Like you can really change up quite a bit.
Yeah, especially with like not being able to, like a lot of the records that I have at this moment in time, or that are being released, have never been played in a club. I'm like a lot of people.
Yeah, like, how do I test it out?
Yeah.
How do I know? Like, it's really important to get that sort of feedback. You know, there's some songs that I was like, oh yeah, like this is like a B-side, whatever, and then I'd play it and I would get such a big reaction. I'd be like, oh wow, maybe I'm gonna like beef up this sound a little bit more, because you get that sort of, you know, that back and forth, that little kind of conversation with the people that you're playing it for, and then you go back and tweak like your stuff a little bit. And not having that, you're like, so
it's weird, isn't it? How have you found it during lockdown? Because I know you've been traveling a bit during COVID, but like within Canada, like how have you found the like productivity and things like that?
I mean, I'm such a regimental person. I really do like to keep a schedule, and I'm at the end of the day, I kind of like look back at my list. I'm like, okay, check.
Yeah.
Like being able to do that for me is, I'm like, like that's a really nice release. Yeah. And I would say that this whole time I've been keeping up with like my schedule for sure. And I've been just kind of telling myself, I'm like, okay, we don't really know like what's going to happen. But what I do know for sure is that I want to keep making music from this time to this time and finishing it by this time. And maybe I've like wavered a little bit and sort of experimented a bit more with like different BPMs and sounds and stuff. Like I've sent you some stuff you've heard, like you've heard how it's a little bit different from what I normally do, but I think that's a self-expression, and it's still coming from you, and it might be different, but it's been a good time for me to like experiment with like new sounds and things that I've like always wanted to produce. So it's like, it's been nice. So I haven't been so like concentrated on like my typical sound. Like I've still been making music, but it's been just like a little bit different.
Yeah, I think it's evolution. The sound that you're kind of doing now, it still sounds like Shelley, but it's also just kind of a evolution of what you did before.
I feel like it's more going back to what I started listening to. Yeah, like because I was saying earlier how like my siblings, they were really into like trance and techno, like from the early 2000s, and back then it was a little bit more like fast paced. It was a little bit more hypnotic. So I'd say like I've kind of gone back to like that sort of sound, and it was like a natural thing too. It wasn't like, okay, I'm going to sit down and make like this type of song. It was just like, no, I feel like I want to make this particular track. Like I'm just a medium for frequencies to kind of like push through. You know?
Yeah, definitely.
So yeah, it's more so going back to like my roots. It's more so going back to like what drew me into dance music in the first place. So it's like an evolution sort of back.
No, I like that. I think that kind of always comes around as well, doesn't it? Because it's happening in a lot of dance music at this moment in time. I think a lot of people always look back for inspiration because that's kind of realistically, dance music hasn't been around for that long. It's been around for
I've gone through quite a few cycles already.
40 years, maybe 80s.
I really feel like music, fashion and music and trends, they really do, like if you want to know what's going to happen in the future, you sort of have to look in the past because everything is cyclical.
Yeah.
Music particularly is cyclical. And if you see like what was happening and was in trend at one point, it always comes back, but just revamped in a different way. And, you know, it's infinite in that sense. Like it goes up and down and then kind of back and forth. So yeah, it turns within itself.
What's your thought of the like techno scene at this moment in time? Honestly,
there's different paths of techno. You know, like there's different cycles within cycles of techno. Right now, what I'm really feeling is like a bit more like faster pace, a bit more hypnotic, a little bit like more dancey, I'd have to say. I feel like you know what, as long as you're making what you like and you're feeling it and it comes from the heart, then, you know, make whatever you want and then slap the word techno on it. There you go. That's
that was such a politically correct answer to not offend anyone.
I think everybody kind of like changes their sound, you know, or changes what they like. You're allowed to do that. It's like a self-expression. Sometimes you might be into more like liquid drum and bass, and other days you might be into more like progressive house. And really, you don't choose what kind of music you like. It chooses you, right? And that's like the same with production as well. Like if that's what you're feeling, and if that's how you want to make music, how you want to like mix it down and, you know, slam it into people's ears, then so be it, you know, as long as you're doing it with heart.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. I was talking to A Vision about this on the podcast a few weeks back. Nice. And we were kind of talking like, because a lot of people put him under as like a techno artist, and he's like, I'm not a techno artist, I just write house music. And
A Vision is so diverse.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing is like, there's a lot of people now that techno's like tech house, right? It's kind of like fashionable, and it's like what you were saying.
There's also different realms of tech house too. There's that like late night rolling deep tech house that is not the typical like tech house sound that most people are thinking. And then there's like the sexy party music tech house where you're like, damn, like that girl is on fire, and it's like, you know, like nice dancing and stuff. Like those are like the hot parties. Yeah. So even tech house has its own like realms that they're cycling through. Yeah.
It's true. I think it's just very easy to get caught up in all these genres, and it's like, well, at the end of the day, we just make electronic music that makes people dance, and if it makes people dance, then that's what we do it for, right?
I think it's also like discovering things as well, like just kind of looking at the rack you have back there with like some of your gear. I mean, do you ever just have like sessions where you step away from the computer and you just kind of fiddle about and just are in awe in discovering certain sounds without any sort of like pre-notion of like what you're going to do or anything like that?
Absolutely not.
No, music's not whimsical and fun. What are you talking about? How dare you?
I'm like a robot when I come to like writing music. I like have an idea in my head and I just make it happen.
I could be like that.
I'm experimental with like certain things, but I'm not like a proper gearhead where I just want to jam on the gear. I'd rather have like a concept in my head and be like, okay, I'm going to use these drums for that. And
right. You like plan it out and like beeline for it. I think that's really smart, because then that way you allocate the amount of time you want to put towards like working on a project. You know, you can set like really measurable goals for yourself in that way. But for me personally, whenever I go to sit down to, like, I make music every day. Like that is my number one priority, is to, even if nothing comes out of it, at least I tweaked a patch. At least I, you know, laid out like a drum pattern, like something.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's more of like, you know, like a one-on-one conversation I'm having with an instrument, whether it's an analog gear or if it's just, you know, like a plugin I have on my computer. You know, it's like I'll discover a sound. I'll be like, oh, okay, I like that. I'm going to kind of like put it into the pattern and play around with it and see where it goes. And I have this, I think that's why I'm so like addicted to making music, is because it's like setting off these like dopamine receptors of like novelty and like seeking something different. And it surprises me every day.
Yeah.
And instead of being like, okay, I have to make this particular sound, it's just more like, okay, well, I'm going to talk to this instrument and see what it says back to me. And then we can maybe have this like really beautiful conversation.
I love that.
And it also makes me sound like I have no friends either. I'm like, I'm talking about it.
It's fine. You don't. It's fine. We're good.
I have my dog and I have my gear. It's fine.
No, there's something I really like about that, because I generally always go in the studio with like an agenda, and I think that sometimes takes the fun out of it sometimes. And it's like if I don't come out and I haven't achieved that agenda, it's like fucking annoying, really. And I think with the way that you're saying is like you're going in naturally and just like almost treating it like a electric guitar, like a acoustic guitar, or just a piano, where you're just like vibing, just enjoying it.
And then sometimes if I am just playing, like if I step away from the computer, the desktop, and I just go over to like my gear and just start playing, sometimes what I'll do is I'll still plug it in through like my interface and I'll hit record. And like I work in FL, and they have this really great feature that you can, like, whatever MIDI notes you've put in or whatever you've played, it will actually dump all of the notes within the past like 2 minutes or 10 minutes or the whole session.
Yeah.
So I can go in and play and, you know, like create some sounds, and then FL will go and dump all of the work that I've done. And then I can just kind of go in there and like cut up pieces. So cool. It's not, you know, like, so it allows for me to be able to have this like free flow where I can still play, but know that I have like everything that I'm doing is like being recorded, and it might be used later on. It might not be, you know, then it's kind of nice to have that backup.
Is FL still called Fruity Loops, or do they just like...
Remember Fruity Loops? No, they call it FL Studio now.
They've like the
fruity part of it.
They've gone to the cool side.
You know, FL used to be free, so I feel like that's why a lot of people had it, and also it was like I also have Ableton. I've tried Cubase out as well too, but it's like a language, you know, just whatever language you're fluent in, not Tagalog, clearly, but you know, then you can use that best to communicate.
As long as you make good music, it doesn't matter, right? It doesn't matter how you do it. Can you remember EJ? Was that ever something when you were a kid?
What is it called?
EJ.
No.
So it's like you'd get it on like cereal packs, and it was like Fruity Loops, but like a free kind of it was like a free software, and you would literally what it was is it would just give you loads of loops, and it would give you an arrangement page, and then you just drag and drop everything in.
Oh, okay.
That's how I started back in the day.
Wow. Back in the day?
And
how back in the day?
I think the first time I used EJ, I was like 11.
Okay, wow.
So 20 years ago.
You were like classically trained. Did you play any other instruments before?
I tried to play the piano, and went to lessons like every week for like 2-3 years, and never practiced, and sucked every time.
Did you just not like it, or was it really forced?
It wasn't. I really wanted to do it, but I'm like, I don't know. I did music theory, so I can read music, but I don't know. I just didn't like. My teacher was really good, but I think I was just like way more interested in sports then, Like,
Mm-hmm.
and I always wanted to do music, but I didn't know what it was, and DJing was like the thing. Whereas
Yeah.
if I could go back now, I would be like, I really like, I would want my parents to like force me to be like classically trained in piano, because that it
But
would just game change everything.
do you think really that I guess so. I was going to say that like if you were forced, you really think you would have absorbed the information and have like wanted to do it as much. Like maybe because you didn't is what drives you to do it now. And
Yeah.
you can always go back. It's never too late.
So
Like
I could do it. I've actually, my parents I live next door to my parents when I'm in the UK, and they have a piano in the house, and tomorrow actually
now they're forcing you. Like, could you imagine them being like, okay, we've enrolled you into lessons. Like you gotta go. Like,
literally.
I don't want to.
But I was gonna steal their piano and put it in my studio because I really want to learn. I'm just fucking lazy, and when it comes to learning on like a synth, like I'll open Logic up and then put a piano sound on the synth and start playing, and then I'm like, oh, that could be a track, and then I just start producing because it's like what I'm used to. Whereas if I actually had a full size piano and like that, I can only write a piano, I can only play a piano. Like, it's not going into my computer. There's no distractions. So I think I need an actual piano to like use, and then I'll
Is it like a grand piano? Because that'd be really cool if you had one of those.
I would absolutely love to have a grand piano, but my studio is not big enough. Shiba-san has a baby grand in his house.
Yeah.
And I love it. They're fucking expensive though.
Well, but you know what? If you're thinking about it, and you know it's something that's quite kind of just like tickling the back of your subconscious, then maybe you should answer it.
So
because you'll always be thinking about it. You just move the piano over, and then you'll sit there, and it'll be like a gentle reminder of like, oh, I really should get on to that. I should really start practicing.
I really want to find a teacher that can like come over and teach me. I need to find a good teacher that like I'm like, I want to play this.
Online courses, though.
No, because I'm just not going to do it. I'd rather write music.
You need to be like obligated, like somebody there. You're like one of those people that has like a personal trainer that calls them at like 6 a.m. They're like, get your lazy ass up.
See, this is the thing. This is the thing with training. I'm like that personal trainer, like to myself. Yeah. I'm like, get the fuck up and go and train. But for some reason with piano, the only thing is with the piano is there's two reasons why I want to play. One reason, obviously, to write music. And the second reason is because it's fucking cool. Like, I'd love to just like...
just go to like a hotel bar. Just
literally, that is it. That's all I want to do. Like, I'd be like, there's a...
some Mozart. Yeah. Everybody's like, ooh.
I'd be like, there's a cute girl over there. I need to woo her.
Like, I'm just doing it to impress other people.
Literally, it's just...
That is a huge motivational factor when it comes to like social acceptance and whatnot. Like that can, because if you just lived on a desert island, you'd be like, oh, why do I need to train? Oh, why do I need to do this? No reason. There's nobody else around but me.
Exactly. I've been writing some music for like doing some pop stuff recently, and one of the other guys as a writer is a guy called Mitch Jones, and he's like an unbelievable piano player. Like, I would never be that good. His dad was a piano player, and he started playing at like 6 and then went to boarding school to play the piano. Like, he's fucking unbelievable. And like, I could literally just sit in the studio and just like listen to him. And I'm like, dude, how are you so good at that?
Practice.
That is it.
Like, I think for sure, like some people are born with incredible talent, but if you see somebody who's like a mentor or you like want to aspire to be like them, then you have the capability to do that. You know, like if they can do it, you can do it. And really, really what it is just like continual practice and training and like a drive, right? But some people are, of course, there's savants out there that are just like born and they're naturally talented, and you know, like they can like taste sound and, you know, hear color and stuff. Those people, that's a little bit different. But if you really do, if you do practice and, you know, you break things down and you learn how you learn and apply that, I really think that you can do anything that you set your mind to.
No, I agree. You just got to really want to do it. And for me, I think the thought of it is more appealing than actually going, I'm going to be so shit for so long. It's just my ego. It's just my ego's killing me right now. That's all it is.
You know, you could attach some sort of like personal loss. It's like if you don't learn how to play like a certain piece of music by heart, you know, like one that you choose, then you have to give somebody X amount of dollars, or you have to give away like your favorite synth or something like that. You know, like if you had maybe that kind of motivational factor, then that would get your butt in high gear.
I like that a lot. Can you play anything?
No.
You're just giving it the big guns.
Like putting this motivational bullshit on you, and you're like, oh, so you must play. I'm like, no, fuck no. No, I didn't. So I went to ballet for several years, and when I was younger, and growing up, we had like a person that would come and play the piano live, like during our class, and I was more fascinated with like the timing and like I watching the person play than I was in the actual dancing. Like I remember looking forward more to that live aspect to it than the class itself. But dance helped me to like, you know, learn timing and like rhythm and stuff, which I feel is applicable to like the work that I do today. But no, my parents, like, I think my dad got me like a little electric keyboard when I was really young that I had and I learned how to play like Elvis Love Me Tender on it and stuff. I could probably still play it today. but no, I never really did any sort of like extracurricular activities that involved music sort of stuff.
It's weird because I think a lot of people in like electronic music can't actually play, but they can make music. It's strange.
Yeah. I'm always do like your typical sounds, and especially with techno too, I don't think like that having the fundamentals of like knowing music theory is really, really important, obviously, for like things like phasing issues and like chord progressions and just having everything like fit really well within a mix, like more of like the technical aspect of it. But like techno isn't, for me anyways, I find that like you can kind of put sounds together that are atonal and you're like, whoa, that sounds really cool. Like it's not classical in that sense, but I think it does help to have like a basic understanding of it for sure.
Yeah.
I know a lot of artists that didn't play anything like growing up.
When I was talking to Mitch, and he's like when we've written some like more electronic stuff together, and he's like, you do things that are technically not right, but they sound great in this kind of genre. And he's like, he would never, because he's classically trained, he would never think of doing things like that. And I think that's the thing, is like, because we don't know what's right and wrong. We just do it if it sounds good. And I guess that's what you get out of it.
Or if it's like a psychoacoustic effect in the sense where it's like somebody who knows theory like inside and out, they're like, no. Like I would never put those two sounds together. But because of like your ignorance in the sense that you don't know the theory behind it, you're like, you put it together and you're like, yeah, like I really like the way those two work, and they just work because they do. It's like it's good to know the rules so you know how to bend them. Just to the point of breaking, but
that's what I also really like about like new producers that just don't have a clue, because that not having a clue means that there's no goalpost that you have to stay between.
Your most creative work, like do you save like, do you have some of your really old projects?
Yeah,
and you listen.
They sound like they sound like shit.
I still say that about myself. Or you like bang something out and like really late at night, and you listen to it the next day, and you're like the night before you're like, yeah, like this is awesome. The next day you're like, what was I thinking?
I know. I posted a video of a new track that I was working on the other day, and it sounded great. And then I went back to the project like 2 days ago, and I was like, I'm gonna have to rewrite all the drums because it sounds like shit.
Or or you know what, you could just not listen to it for a month and then go back to it again and be like, oh, like, why did I finish this idea? This is such a good one.
It's all mental, isn't it? It all just depends on where you're at in your head at that day.
Yeah. Or maybe your ears are just fatigued, you know, or like there could be so many other like emotional factors as to why you're not like feeling it, or you are. So
are you are you starting a record label?
Yes, yeah. Actually, the first release comes out in a couple days from now.
Well, it's not from, because this podcast is going to be out later on in the month, so I actually think the record.
Okay, so it's on June 21st.
Yeah, this is out. Let me just find out because.
Okay, so for future viewers, then my new EP is now out.
Yeah, so this podcast is coming out on July the 6th.
Oh, okay.
So it's out. And the only reason why we're doing it so early is because I have to go to Mexico for 2 weeks and I won't have my podcast stuff.
Oh,
what a shame.
You.
What a shame.
Mexico are you going to?
So I'm doing a little trip. I'm going to tell you about Mexico, but I want to talk about your record label. But so on this Monday, which is Monday, the 21st of June, I'm going to Mexico and I'm going to... Where am I going? I'm flying into Mexico City and then staying in, I can't even pronounce it, Teljon or something like that. It's like an hour and a half outside of Mexico City. And then I'm going to Puerto Vallarta for the second week.
Lucky.
I know. It's just so I can go to America because English people aren't allowed to go to America from the UK.
Oh, okay. I see your little roundabout going on there. Will be nice. I find Mexico has some like of the best crowds as well. Like the people that come out to shows there, like they know how to party. I love going to Mexico. They
just love a fucking party. They love it so much. I think that's the thing. Is like I guess I wouldn't say Mexico's a first world country. And I think that's the thing in poorer countries, they just partying is so essential because it takes away the struggle of everyday life. It's a sort
of escape in a way, you know. It's like it's a release. It's definitely more like intertwined with their culture as well too, because it's like they get away and when they go, they really dance and they enjoy their time.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Totally. So what's going on with this record label? Talk to me about it. What's it called?
It's called Turn Recordings. I actually have my little picture right there. Kind of look up to like remind me, but it was a project that I first came up with back in like 2018 and things just kind of like kept coming up and I sort of kept like pushing it aside. And then last year I was like, you know what? I'm like, this is it. And I really wanted to have the first release on like the first day of summer. So like the annual parties could be on like the longest day of the year. And, you know, like I had this whole like vision set in my head, but yeah, it's Turn Recordings. And it's really more of like a personal outlet for like my music. And the first release it's a 3-track EP. And it's gonna range, you know, like it's rooted in techno, but it's really like it's about self-expression, and it's like I want it to be very like eclectic in the sense where you know like I might put out a track that's 128 BPM that's like a little bit more like melodic, but then I also have a track on the EP that's 140 BPM.
It's hard.
You know, so right, like but it's not necessarily hard. It's just a little bit faster. You know, and I think it's like music really is like a sense of self-expression, and I'm giving like myself, I'm giving my whole self when I put these EPs out. So yeah, I'm going to keep up with like a regular release schedule, and it's going to be, for now, it's just going to be like my own music, and I'll have remixes and other artists come through later down the line. But yeah, I'm really excited about it because it's something I've been thinking about for like a while, and you know, it's been in the back of my head, and now that I'm seeing it like come alive into fruition, I'm just very like proud and happy, and I want to get like more music out there that might be a little bit more like experimental or just stuff that's different.
It's the nicest feeling when you can control everything with a record label. I sound like a broken record on this podcast because I say it all the time, but it's like having your own label just allows you to do what you want and not have to worry about kind of sounding like a record label?
Yeah, because whenever I send out demos to labels, I always make the music that's, I don't want to say tailored, but I keep the label in mind. Like when I'm sitting down and making something, I'm like, oh, I want to send it to this label. I want to send it to that. It's still me in the sense where I'm like, it's my track, and it's like I would still put it out anywhere, including my own label. But I like to keep that in mind.
Well,
and
I think you have to nowadays. Being a producer
for sure.
is part of the industry. Is that these record labels have big brands which you're hoping to get gigs from. Really, that's it at the end of the day. And
maybe your vision aligns with like their brand as well too. Like,
exactly.
you have to love the music that they're putting out as well. Like you should be playing their music at the gigs that you have anyways. So I mean, if you love the history of the brand, I think that's really important as well. Like it doesn't necessarily have to be like, oh, like I want to release with this label because it's going to get me gigs. It's like, no, I like them. I like the music they put out.
Yeah.
I feel like I could also represent their sound through my music. And I think that builds like a good rapport. And, you feel like, I genuinely feel like good about being a part of something that's like bigger than just yourself. Like, you're really like adding to the scene. So yeah, like I try to keep in mind, like whenever I'm like sending out demos, I'm like, I made this for X label. I made this for this label, like, and it makes it a little bit more like personable that way too. But yeah, with like my own label, I can kind of do stuff that's a little bit, I don't say crazy, but like a little bit more experimental or something that wasn't directly for another label. And that's just like a really nice way that I can express myself. And I have such a deep appreciation for artists that run their own label, because it's not just like, oh, bam, I'm going to make music and then put it out. It's like, no, you got to think about like the art that goes behind it, who you're sending it to, the creative writing aspect of like describing your tracks. And those aren't all necessarily like talents that people have that are just good at like making music. So I really do appreciate people who have their own label, because it is work and it's a passion. It's like a passion project that you really have to put everything into.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's very much, it actually creates the you're being the full artist of everything. You have full artist control, which means that like the artwork, you choose the artwork. Like for me with All We Have Is Now, with my label, it was like a process to get the artwork how I wanted to get the artwork and how we want to release it.
That takes a while to really like hone in on who you are as a person and how you're going to express that visually too. And to have it all cohesive and something that like aligns with the people that are listening to your music as well too. So there's so many different like facets of this diamond, but when it all comes together, it can be really like shiny and beautiful.
Yeah. And I think it just makes it just feel a little bit more together, because the visual aspect of it works with the record. Whereas usually when you're signing to another record label, they give you everything. You give them the music, and then they give you everything else. And sometimes you're like, well, the artwork's a bit dark for what I think the record is kind of representing, or like the promo write-up is a little bit different to what you had in
how I would describe my track at all.
Exactly. Yeah. It's always weird.
That's why I think it's important to like line yourself up with labels that you agree with and that you like visually, and their marketing aspect as well too, because then you're just kind of going to sort of automatically like whatever sort of write-ups they do, or like their visuals too.
Yeah, totally. How often are you going to be releasing?
So probably every season, like I kind of thought about maybe doing like a monthly release and doing something on Bandcamp where like people who have subscribed to it will actually maybe get like something beforehand, or like special merchandise and stuff. That might be something like later on, but for right now I'm doing like 2 to 3 track EPs like every 12 weeks or so. Might speed it up after that, but that's another nice thing about having your own label, is you can like adjust the timing of it as like whatever works best for you and for your listeners.
No, definitely. Do you have a plan on when you're going to sign other people, or are you just going to see how it goes for the first year?
Well, yeah, I think that was one thing with this is like I was like on such a roll with like making all of these different sounds that I really felt I was putting like my whole heart into and really expressing like who I am as an artist with it. So right now I'm just like super concentrated on like creating the release schedule and like lining up the EPs in a way that like the tracks like complement each other. So that's another thing too, is like a lot of the times when people release music, like an artist might only pick like one track from that EP. I want to release music that you would play both like or all the tracks throughout like your set, or that you could do that. And so, yeah, it's like I really, for right now, I just want to like set up the EPs so that the songs complement each other and that I'm releasing like my own music. But yeah, I'll be sending some other stuff out. There is some other announcements and things, but that'll be later on.
That's cool. Yeah, I remember you sending me some records and stuff we spoke about in the past, what you got planned, and it's exciting stuff. Is there any other labels out there that you're like, this is who I belong with as well, like outside of yours?
Like the labels that I have released with, you know, like as I was saying before, like for example, like Drum Code and Bedrock, those are labels that like I grew up listening to, you know, like those are labels that I've been following for a really long time. And, you know, like I would definitely like send them music again and stuff because I like their direction. Like I like who they are as a label. I like who they are as a brand too. So yeah, I think like as of right now, it's just going to be turn recordings and like the music that I've been making the past like year, because I'm just so excited. I really like want to get it out there. Yeah. And then there'll be some other things like down the line.
Sick. Can't wait.
A little bit.
So what's the EP that is actually out now from when this podcast?
It's called Eternity, and yeah, so the tracks, they range from 128 BPM right up to 140, and I would say that they're more of like a peak time like driving techno sort of sound. And the reason why I did it like that was because I wanted to expose my listeners to like the range of sounds that will be coming out on the label. Because like I might release something that's a little bit deeper, a little bit more melodic, or other times it might be a bit faster and like more pacey kind of techno. So yeah, it's a 3-track EP. There is Do You Believe, Say Again, and Eternity. And these tracks were all like, it was so difficult to choose which ones I wanted to be like the first, because I wanted such like an eclectic range of sounds of like who I am as an artist. But yeah, so they're out there, and they all have like female vocals in them, which I always love hearing in sounds whenever I'm listening to music. So I put that in there. I do like some of my own vocals in it as well too. And yeah, they're all tracks that are like really close to my heart, and I'm really happy to like put them out as like an EP together.
It's a great EP, but I love Say Again a lot.
Yeah.
It's great. I love it.
Yeah, that one has a little like beat break in it, and that track was like, I found that a lot of people have had so much good feedback about the EP, but that song in particular, it's kind of in the middle. Like it's not as fast paced as the 140 track, but it's still like driving. Anything?
No, I love it. It's a great EP.
Appreciate that.
It's a great EP. Let's wrap this motherfucker up. We've just done an hour and 6 minutes.
I feel like I could talk to you forever.
I know we could. We have to catch up in person. I'm not too sure when we can, but if you're ever coming to the States or planning, then let's hook up. But before you go, how can people follow you and all of that jazz?
Well, probably the best way would be my Instagram account. I'm like usually posting everything up there. I also have my SoundCloud page. And that one, I do like my monthly radio show where I'm putting like promo music up there and just like artists that I'm really feeling at the moment. So yeah, I'm always like posting new music on SoundCloud, Instagram, and like of course Spotify, like all the regular usual suspects up there. Yeah.
Shelley, thank you so much for being on.
It was so nice talking with you.
Too. You can come on whenever you want. Come back and let's talk. Let's do one in person next time. That would be more fun.
Yeah, for sure.
Cool.
For sure.
Keep safe. See you soon.
Okay, you too. Bye.
And that is a wrap. Thanks so much for listening. Subscribe, comment, share it with everyone. Go listen to Shelley's new EP. Keep safe. See you next time.